How's that sound? A little bit higher. Alright, so we'll keep it there for the rest of the stream. So welcome to the stream, everybody. Pleased to be with you again here on Tuesday night. Thanks so much for anybody out there who's watching. So I am Peter, and the reason that I'm streaming is that I usually play soccer on Tuesday nights, but there's no soccer now. So without soccer, I want to make sure that I was doing something that would reach out and feel like I was involved in a community, feel like I was keeping in touch with people, and feel like I was giving something back. So I want to do this on Tuesday nights from 8:30 to about 9:30 each week. And this is the third episode, and I plan on trying to do 8 episodes total. So at least for me, I'm going to have to turn the music off because it is hard for me to concentrate with that. Okay. So first, let me just quick remind you about who I am. So I'm Peter. I teach engineering at a community college in the Pacific Northwest by day, but I also do some coding. You can check out my blog at Python for Undergrad Engineers. And in my blog, I blog about things that help engineering students. So let's see, what are some, that's because I spelled engineering wrong, engineering. So let's see like some of the things you could learn here. So like doing unit conversions with Python. That's like one of the things up there on the blog. I'm also an author. I've written this book, Problem Solving with Python. It's now in its 3.7 edition. You can pick it up on Amazon, and that helps support the work that I do. There's also an open source free version to this as well, but if you want a hard copy, you can grab it on Amazon. So the code for the stream, I shared it in the chat, but that's going to be here at this GitHub repo. So that's github.com/ProfessorKazarnoff/stream2020. And what we're going to be doing today is episode 3. So any of the code that I work on, I'll share in this GitHub repo, and you can come back to it if you need. Just a reminder about our code of conduct. If you're going to participate in the stream, I'd just like to make this a welcoming environment, and an environment that people feel friendly, feel safe, and feel like that they can learn. So make sure that you're friendly and patient. Make sure that you're welcoming, considerate, respectful, that you're careful with words. Moderate your expectations. They're community members who might be learning programming for the first time, or there might be experienced ones. And that when we disagree, let's try to understand why, and that a simple apology can go a long way. So I'm going to abide by this code of conduct. I'm also going to try to keep my language family friendly, and I'd appreciate if everyone in chat also kept their language family friendly, because if there are any children out there, we want to make this a safe environment for them too. So what we're going to do on the stream today is we'll review where the GitHub repo is for the stream and the code of conduct. That's the stuff we just finished. We'll quick review what JupyterHub is, show you the JupyterHub docs and the docs we're following in the series. We'll review what we did last week in episode 2. And then we're going to go into the work for today. First, we're going to route a domain name to the Linode domain name servers. And I'm going to do that in Google Domains. And then we'll go onto Linode and route that domain name onto our server. Then after that, we'll install Miniconda on the server, and we'll set up a JupyterHub environment and install some Python packages and JupyterHub. And then we'll try running JupyterHub for the first time. After that, we'll check on our domain name and see if the routing is going through. Often that takes 24 hours, so that might not be ready. And if we've got time, then we'll work on some SSL security stuff. Finally, at the end, we'll shut down the server, we'll add the files to GitHub, we'll commit, and we'll push, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do in the next episode. So let's review what JupyterHub is and the JupyterHub documentation. So Jupyter Notebooks are a way to write and run Python code in a web browser. And they're a common way that data scientists as well as engineers write and run their Python code. But one of the problems is that you've got to install Jupyter Notebooks locally in order to get them running. And for some new users of Python, that installation step is an extra hurdle. So using JupyterHub, you can write and run Python code in the cloud without doing any local installation at all. So here is the documentation for the JupyterHub project, and any additional information about JupyterHub can be found in this set of documentation. The documentation that we're going to follow in this stream comes from MKDoc's site that I built one of the last times I did a JupyterHub deployment. So that can be found here. And what we're going to do today is work on the DNS routing the domain name onto our server. We'll follow steps pretty close to this documentation, but note that this documentation does the deployment on DigitalOcean, and we're going to do our deployment on Linode, because I've got some free credits on Linode. Alright, so what did we do last time? Well, last time we created some SSH keys and we saved them in a local folder so that we can access them later. And we created a virtual private server on Linode. And then we also created a non-root pseudo user. I called that user Peter, and we installed the UFW firewall and blocked all ports except for the port for SSH. So let's open up PuTTY, and we'll see those SSH keys. So we use PuTTY to create the SSH keys, and we use this app, PuTTygen, to do it. And then we logged into the server using regular PuTTY, and hopefully PuTTY is installed on this computer. If it's not, there it is. Okay, good. then we'd have to do an installation step. So we use our SSH keys to log into the server here. I'm going to go to the Linode login screen next and make sure that the server we created was started. So we'll go to linode.com and then I'll log in. And while I do this login process, I'm just going to, oh, no, log me in without having to do the password thing. Okay, that's good. Okay, so here is the server that we created last time. And right now the server is offline. So let's power it up. So it'll take just like a minute or two for the server to get started. Okay, so while our server restarts, let's work on routing our domain name to the Linode domain name servers. So the domain name that I got, I bought on Google Domains. So I'm going to log into Google Domains and then route the domain from Google Domains over to the Linode domain name servers. So here is Google Domains, and I'm going to click on My Domains. I've already logged on to Google, and I've got a couple domains, but the one that I'm going to use for this JupyterHub deployment is this engr101lab.org domain. So I'm going to click Manage, and then I'm going to go over here to DNS. So here is where we're going to add in the Linode domain name servers. So right now there's a setup to go to DigitalOcean, and I want to change this so that it goes to Linode. So here on the Linode documentation, it says use Linode's name servers with your domain. So these are the name servers that we need to paste into Google Domains. So I'll copy this and go back to Google Domains, and I'll click Edit, and then I'll do Paste. So that's the first one. We'll do Paste, and then we'll make this 2. And then I'll do Paste, and then we'll make this one 3, and then we'll add another one, do a paste, and then make this one 4, and then add one more, do a paste, and then this one was 5, and I think 5 was the number it said here in the docs. So then we've got to click Save. And now it says this could take 48 hours. So possibly during the next episode, we'll be able to get our SSL cert. But there's a bunch of stuff that we can do before that happens. All right. So we've logged into Google Domains, and we've routed our domain to the Linode DNS servers. Next, we need to add our domain name to the Linode domains dashboard. So I'll go back to the Linode, and then here on the left, I'm going to click Domains. So I'm going to click Add a Domain, And then here we'll paste in the domain name. So back here in Google Domains, our domain was engr101lab.org. So we'll copy that in. And the settings for, I just want that. And I'll put a email address here in a sec. And for our tags, we'll include JupyterHub, and we'll also include Stream 2020. And then when it says insert default records, insert default records from one of my Linodes, from one of my load balancers. So let's see what happens when we do this. And then we select our stream Linode, and it says you can automatically create some A records doing it this way. So that looks good. So I'm going to type in the email address, and then I'll click create. But I'm going to type in that email address off of the screen capture. So hold on one sec. Alright, so I'm typing in the email address. Okay, and now I'm clicking the create button. Alright. So we've finished creating it, and I used the same email. That's the email for any code of conduct violations that's up in our GitHub repo. And now here we see that we've got an A record, and that's going to this IP address. So if we look at our Linodes, this should be the IP address of our server. So this IP address was 45.33.36.54. So if we go to our Linodes, then we see the same domain here, 45.33.36.54. But I bet that our domain routing hasn't gone through yet. So one of the ways that you can check is by doing what's my DNS.net, and we'll type in the domain name, engr101lab.org, and I'll click search. And it doesn't look like that the rerouting has propagated yet. Let's try the AAA record. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's propagated yet. So we'll have to give that some time, maybe up to 48 hours for that changeover to work. Okay, so while we wait, and maybe we'll have to get back to that next episode, next we are going to install Miniconda on our server, and then we will also then install some Python packages on the server, as well as JupyterHub. So let's log into the server with PuTTY. So I'll start up PuTTY. And I saved our login to our server already. That's here, and I'll click load. And note this is the same IP address that we routed the domain to. and then I'll click Open. So here we are on our server, and we're logged in as our non-root sudo user. So before we install Miniconda and any Python packages, let's first update the system. So we'll use the command sudo apt-get ey update and sudo apt-get ey upgrade, and it'll ask us for our password, and we upgraded and updated last week on last week's episode, so this shouldn't take too long. Okay, so now that this has been upgraded, next we need to install Miniconda onto the server. So let's install this into like a temp directory. So we'll cd into the tmp directory, and then if we do pwd, it says we're in temp. So now we need to get the installer script downloaded and put in this same directory. So I'm gonna go to a web browser here and do miniconda install .sh, and here in the docs it says that we should look for the Miniconda installer for Linux, and here is the link to the repo. So we want to use 64-bit Linux. So I'm going to click copy link address, and then we'll go back to our server here, and let's use curl to download it. So we'll type curl-o, and then I'll use the right mouse button to paste. So this should have downloaded that sh script, so let's do an ls, and here we can see Miniconda 3 latest. So next we need to run this script. So I'm going to type sudo bash and then the name of that sh script. And if I just type a little bit of it and hit the tab key, then the terminal will do tab complete. Okay, so we want to press enter to continue. And then it says a bunch of stuff about our licensing agreement. So we'll click all the way through that. And at the end of the license agreement, we should be able to click yes to agree, and then it'll continue the installation. So a long license agreement. Alright, so we'll type yes. And now it says it'll be installed in this location, but we actually want to specify a different location, because according to the JupyterHub docs, we should install programs into the /opt directory. So instead of there, we're going to install it in /opt opt and then slash mini conda 3. So it'll extract, and then do you wish the installer to run conda init? Yes, we'll have it do that. And it says, congratulations, you've installed miniconda. So it may not have gotten into our shell here. So let's cd back to our home directory, and then we'll do an ls-la, and it's this .bashrc file. If we source that, then hopefully the miniconda like installer script is all ready for us. So let's do a source .bashrc, and now we can see this base prefix, and I don't know if we type Python, is that going to work? Oh, it totally does. So we've got Python 3.7.6, and this is the Anaconda distribution of Python. So I'll type exit, open parentheses, close parentheses. Great. So we got miniconda installed, but something that I've had trouble with is the permissions of that directory. So if we cd into the app directory, and then we do an ls, then we can see that miniconda 3 is in there. That's what we just installed. But if we run ls-la, then we can see that the permissions here are root and root. And our non-root sudo user is not the user root and is not part of the group root. So we need to modify these permissions. So let's first make sure that both the group and the user can read, write, and execute, and then we'll change the owner. So this D stands for directory, and these next 3 letters are the permissions for the owner. So the owner can read, write, and execute. Then the next 3 are the permissions for the group. So the group is root, and the group can only read and execute. And then the next is the permissions for everybody else. So everybody else can read and execute. So we want to make sure that our group can write, and that our group can also write to this directory. So we'll use chmod, and we'll do R for recursive, and we'll to the group add writing permissions to miniconda 3. Gonna take a drink just a sec. All right. So now if we do an ls-la, we should see that our group has read, write, and execute privileges. So the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that our group here isn't root. We'll change the group to Peter, and then Peter will be able to use stuff in this folder. So we'll do that with chown. So I'll type the command sudo chown -r for recursive. We'll keep root as the owner, but we'll add Peter as the group. And we want to do that to the entire miniconda3 directory. So now if we type ls-la, we can see that the owner is root and the group is Peter. So now that the permissions are changed, we should be able to do this command, conda -- version, and it tells us what version we're out. So if that works, that means that conda can be run by the non-root sudo user Peter that we added permissions for and that we added the group to. All right. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new virtual environment, and we'll install Python 3 into it. And then after that, we'll install a bunch of Python packages as well as JupyterHub. So I'm going to cd back to the home directory and just clear my terminal screen. So right now we can see that we're in the base environment, and I'll type the command conda create to create a new virtual environment, and then -n for name, and then we'll call our environment JupyterHub env, and then we'll include Python 3.7 as the Python installation. And the other thing that I'm going to do is do a -y, because adding the -y will mean that I don't have to type yes. So this should install Python 3. And now that we created the virtual environment, we should be able to activate it with conda activate JupyterHub env. So now we see the JupyterHub env virtual environment in front of our prompt. So let's clear. And now we need to install a bunch of Python packages. So we're going to install the common Python packages that data scientists and engineers use. That's going to be NumPy, pandas, matplotlib. We'll also install SciPy, maybe Seaborn, Bokeh, and maybe HoloViews, XLRD, Jupyter. We'll install all those. So we'll do that with the conda install, and we'll do EY, and we'll do NumPy, matplotlib, pandas, XLRD, SciPy, SymPy, Jupyter, Notebook, Bokeh, Seaborn. And let me go back to our content, see if I'm missing any. And we'll do PySerial too. So this should collect these packages and install them into our environment. Now there are a couple of other packages that I want to install. and that's Altair and Pint. Pint is for unit conversions, and it says path not writable, unable to environment location, registry file. Well, let's see. So if we do Python, and then we do like import numpy as np. That did work. I'm not quite sure why it said environment, unable to create environment file, but it seemed to install okay. How about we'll do import pandas as pd. Yeah, that worked. How about import matplotlib.py plot as plt. Yeah, that worked too. Alright, so I'm just going to ignore the warning there, and hopefully the rest of our deployment will go fine. Okay, so we're also going to install Pint Altair, JupyterLab, and then we'll install JupyterHub. So we'll do conda install ey for yes, -c for channel, and then we'll use the conda-forge channel, and we'll install Pint, Altair, and JupyterLab. And let me go back to we'll also do requests. I forgot that one. So we'll do that from the regular conda channel. That's the one I forgot. Alright, so the one I forgot was requests, so let's install that. Conda install ey requests, and it's fine if that comes from just the regular Anaconda channel. So now that we've installed those packages, if we're in our JupyterHub environment where they're installed, we can type the command conda list, and we can see all of the packages that we just installed. So the final package that we're going to install is JupyterHub. So we'll type the command conda install ey, and then we need to use the conda-forge channel and JupyterHub. So just to make sure that's installed, if we type Python and we do import JupyterHub, that works. And if we do JupyterHub --version --, it'll tell us which version of JupyterHub we're running. Sweet. We've got that installed. Okay. So next, we'll just try to run Jupyter for the first time and see if it works, see if we can log in. So I'm going to go back to our server, and JupyterHub by default runs on port 8000. And right now, if we look at our UFW firewall, we can see that OpenSSH is allowed, but nothing else is. So we need to open up port 8000 before we run JupyterHub, otherwise we're not going to be able to log on. So I'm going to write that here. Open port 8000 on the UFW firewall. So we'll type sudo UFW allow 8000. And now if we type sudo UFW status, we can see that port 8000 is open. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, if you're doing like a clean deployment, I would maybe recommend against. And that's because we're going to be running JupyterHub with no SSL security. So we don't want to log in, we don't want to pass any passwords, any credentials, anything like that, because we're not using SSL security, and we're going to just log in under HTTP, not HTTPS. So you don't even have to necessarily do this step. But just to make sure that things are running, I'm going to try it, but I'm not even going to log in. So I'll type the command JupyterHub to start the hub, and then we'll use the flag --no-SSL. Ooh, it says my battery's running low. Let's plug in battery here. Plug in. Alright, hopefully we're back up and running now. Okay, so JupyterHub --no-SSL, and that looks at least like it started. So now if we go back to Linode, let's make sure that our server here is running, and it says that it is. So if we copy the IP address and we paste the IP address and then end with 8000, it says it's not secure, but it looks like JupyterHub is up and running. Success. So I'm not going to type anything in here, no usernames, no passwords, because we're not using SSL security yet, but this is a good sign. This means that JupyterHub is running. So let's go back to our server here, and if we can type Control-C to cancel, that will stop the JupyterHub server from running. And now if we try to refresh, it says that the site can't be reached because we shut down JupyterHub. So we did that pretty insecure thing, and so now let's deny that port 8000, like remove it from the UFW firewall. So if we type sudo UFW status, we can see 8000 is open. So we'll do sudo UFW deny 8000. And now if we do sudo UFW status, we can see that port 8000 shouldn't be able to be used, and this should not do anything. It'll just kind of like just sit here. there's no way anybody should be able to log into our server now unless they're using SSH and have our SSH keys. Okay, cool. So let's see if our domain name routing was complete. See if that changeover happened yet. So I can go to what'smydns.net and we'll type our engr101lab.org and we'll click search. Wow, that was fast. Holy cow. So you can see now that it's logged in everywhere but Los Angeles. Let's do the quadruple A record search. So that one's everywhere but Beijing. And let's do the NS record search. And those are all going to Linode. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so it's possible that we can try getting our SSL cert. So I'm going to type in this what'smydns.net and we'll write see if the domain name is successfully routed over to Linode. And it actually looks like it was. Cool. Okay, so I'm not going to save my history yet. I'll do that at the end. So let's see about installing certbot and getting our SSL certificate. So let's do here use certbot to generate an SSL certificate. Okay, so back here at the server, we're going to run certbot, which is a program that we can use to get SSL certificates. But one thing to keep in mind is that certbot has to do this over the internet. And right now, only OpenSSH connections can go through. So just temporarily, we're going to open the port 80, and that way certbot can use it. So if we do sudo ufw status, now it says 80 is open. Okay, so I'll cd into the home directory. Let's clear off the terminal window. Let's make a certbot directory. Then we'll cd into that certbot directory. And we'll use wget to download the certbot installer. So wget https://dl.eff.org/certbot-auto. So now if we type ls, we can see that this certbot auto file is in the certbot directory. If we do ls-la, you can see that it's readable by Peter, but not executable. And we need to make it executable before we can run it. So let's use chmod to make sure that it's executable. So we'll type chmod add execution for cert bot dash auto. Now if we do ls-la, we can see that the owner can execute and the group can execute. So now let's run certbot. So we'll do /cert bot dash auto. That'll run the program, and we only want a cert, and we'll do it stand alone, and then we need to do -d and type our domain. So it's engr101lab.org. Let's see if it works. So certbot will take a little bit of time, and it'll download some software, and then actually downloads Python 2.7, I think, and then runs certbot using Python 2.7. So this will take like a little bit to get going. Okay, so it's going to ask me for an email address. So I'm going to type this in off of the screen share. Alright. And then it asks us, should I agree to the terms of service? Click A. Will you be willing to share your email? I'm going to click no. And now it's doing up the challenges. Sweet! It says congratulations. You should back up this folder now. So it says our certificate has been saved at these two locations. Sweet. So I'm going to copy that and put those here. So certbot, save the SSL cert in, and then one was in that location, and then where was the other one? Here it is. That's in that location. Wow, great. Okay. So we got a whole lot accomplished today. Did domain name routing, installed Miniconda, installed a bunch of Python packages, installed JupyterHub, ran JupyterHub for the first time, then checked that the domain routing was complete, and it was. That really surprised me. And then we used certbot to create our SSL cert. That is pretty amazing. So I think that that'll finish like the content for the episode today, but there are a couple more things I want to do before I stop the stream. So one is go back here and I want to close port 80. So if I type UFW, sudo UFW status, it tells me that port 80 is open. So we'll do sudo UFW deny 80. And now if we do sudo UFW status, it says deny on 80. So we got that changed. So next, what I want to do is just make sure that I save all of my history file. So I'm going to cd back into my home directory, and then let's see if we type the command history dash W. So that did not seem to pipe anything out. Let's try cat and then slash dot bash underscore history. Sweet. Okay, that worked. So let's copy just everything that we did today. And we started kind of here, right? Yeah, we started right there. Whoa. That's not what I meant to do. No. Whew. Okay. Hopefully that didn't do all that installation. I'll just put save history. And those were all the commands that we typed in today. And now we'll shut down the server. So I'll go back to the home directory. I'll do sudo shutdown -h now. So that shut down our server. And I'm going to go back to Linode. And if I rerun, like refresh, it does say that it's running, but I'm gonna, for right now, power it off. Okay. So let's save these file to Git, and then we'll do commit and push, and then we'll talk about what we're going to try to accomplish in the next episode. So here at the Anaconda prompt, let's make sure that this is saved. I'm in the Stream 2020 folder, and so I'll do a git add dot git commit -m and updates to contents.md for season 1 episode 3, and do a git push origin master. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to try to do next episode. So next week on Tuesday, we'll review what we did last time, and then we're going to go in creating a number of files for security, and then we'll see if we can install Nginx, configure Nginx, and then maybe we can create JupyterHub as a system service, and then see if we can log in using our domain name and HTTPS. Okay, so that completes the stream for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to be able to see you next week. Thanks a lot.